Okay, Jeff and Tanya, go ahead.
Hello, everybody. My name is Tanya Spilivoy. I'm the WCET Director of Open Policy, and I just want to say a very warm welcome to everyone who is here. I see a lot of names that I recognize, and it's so great to see you. Also, new people, welcome. And if we were all together, we would stick around afterwards and chat a long time. So welcome to our session today.
Hi, I'm Jeff Seaman. I'm from Bayview Analytics, and pleasure to be here as well, and actually a pleasure to be working with Tanya. I'll begin, pass it back to Tanya, and as we go through, hopefully we will have a chance to address some comments, and we hope towards the end some questions, but we have a lot to cover, so let's begin. And it's not confusing to operate, sorry. Let's start for where we were. I want to set the stage, why we did the research we did and why we are moving in the current direction going forward. So Bayview Analytics, we were previously known as Babson Survey Research Group, has been tracking OER awareness, adoption, attitudes, what drives adoption, what measures of faculty perceptions of quality, and that for a number of years. And what we've seen is very positive for OER, but also a bit concerning. The positive piece is it's always this continual growth, steady, every year, year after year, every year we've been measuring this has shown increased awareness of OER using exactly the same measures in exactly the same way to a representative national sample of teaching faculty in higher education. All very exactly what you would hope to see with these kinds of things. The same thing with adoption. OER adoption up year to year, every year, greater levels of adoption in intro level courses than across all courses, probably because of the greater awareness and the greater number of options of OER for those intro level courses. But still, the concerning part here is look at the scale. Even in the biggest bar we have there, which is intro level courses for the last year for which we have full data, it's just a quarter of all the faculty members who have adopted. And it doesn't even mean that these faculty have adopted entirely OER. It means at least a component of their required course materials is OER. So there's still a huge long way to go before OER is the de facto standard, if that's what we can reach. And the question we want to understand is, we've been seeing these things go forward for so long. What can we do to make this change? And so the good news is we have years and years of data. We've been collecting all of these opinions from faculty members. We've been looking at them. We know who the faculty members are in terms of what kind of school they're at, if they're a 4-year or 2-year, if they're tenured or non-tenured, what discipline they're in, all that information, and trying to say, is there some patterns we can see in there that say this group is much more positive and moving much faster towards OER than others? Or is there things about the environment in which we're finding these faculty members that makes that difference? Or is it something else? What can we do taking a look at that? And one of the questions started was a reanalysis of our most recent data, actually precipitated by Tanya, that was, what's the impact of initiatives when institutions actually take some institutional level action to inform, suggest, propose, whatever the form it might be about OER? Does it make a difference? And so we did a study on that, taking a look at our data, and have published a report. So Tanya, take it away.
So what we wanted to know is, are we actually making a difference? We have all of these OER initiatives that we've started. I led one in North Dakota. Colorado has a big initiative. There's so many initiatives happening that are started by librarians and teaching faculty. So what impact is it actually having on the faculty decisions themselves? So we found, next slide.
Sorry.
I need my assistant. Okay, that faculty who are aware of one or more initiatives are 3 to 4 times more likely to be adopters of OER. So this is basically across the board for all faculty. It holds true for faculty that are teaching introductory level courses and the general population of faculty. We also found that if an OER initiative is implemented at the institution level, that it results in a measurable rise in the number of faculty who are aware of OER. It also has a huge impact on the number of faculty who are likely to adopt OER as required course materials, and those who have yet to adopt OER are more likely to do so in the future. So we found basically that the impact of awareness on OER initiatives on adoption is consistent across all institution types as well. 2- and 4-year institutions, the level of courses being taught, and all regions in the United States. So here are some examples of what OER initiatives are. You might be wondering, well, what exactly did they use to define their category? So we just took a wide swath of all types of OER initiatives. If you look at the big blue blobs, those are regional compact areas in the United States. New England Board of Higher Education is in the New England region. The Midwestern Higher Education Compact is a collection of states right in the center of the United States. WICHE is the Western Interstate Commission for Higher Education, and they focus on the Western states. And then SREB is the Southern Regional Education Board and has all of the Southern states. And I will just give you a few examples of OER initiatives in the WICHE region. So you can see California is a WICHE state. They have the community college system, the CCC system, that has had a large OER push. Individual institutions have their own OER initiatives. You have MIT OpenCourseWare that's really big in California. CCC OER, you got to give a shout out to them because they've led so many wonderful initiatives within the state and nationally, and now internationally with OE Global. We also have a huge impact from faculty and staff professional development. And that goes through all of the OER initiatives. This is just some of the examples. But I can move on to Colorado. So there was a large open educational resources initiative at the Colorado Department of Higher Education. They had an OER council that I worked with. And then individual institutions like University of Northern Colorado started their own initiative. And then there's legislation, grants, OER council, funding, leadership, all kinds of action that went into it. Even Jared Polis, the governor of Colorado, declared the open day or the OER day. He's been really active with the council. And so you see this high level of attention being brought to open, and what impact does that actually have on faculty choice? I led the initiative in North Dakota, at the University of North Dakota. We had a huge OER initiative with a great librarian there. Also at Valley City State University, being led by technology and faculty. There was legislation and grants and funding and leadership. And North Dakota is still the only state that's had an independent audit by a state auditor's office to audit the work that we did here to bring OER to the state. So those are it's just a sprinkling of all the different kinds of initiatives. One of the things I didn't put on my list is the Spark Open Education Leadership Program. Lots of graduates are here in the chat today, and every single one of the graduates that that completed that program had to start an OER initiative at their institution. That's more than 64 of you. So there's a lot of action just coming out of that one program. Happy to be leading and part of that. So the bottom line is that OER initiatives work, and what we want to tell you is do something about it.
Taking all of that was research and data and things pre-pandemic. And one of our questions going forward is, the world changed, will our conclusions change? What do we need to do the same or different now, given what we're seeing is the massive changes going on in higher ed? We know from a lot of the work that Bayview's done and others that the teachers, faculty went out and massive numbers had to move to emergency distance education. Many more are teaching online this term than they have ever before. That there's a huge change in all of the things surrounding how they teach. And these things have had massive changes on what had been a fairly static mechanism by which faculty and institutions picked course materials and went through that whole decision process. We are seeing whole-scale reevaluation of how that process is done by different institutions. Many of those things driven by the need to do it quickly, the need to do something much faster than they could do before. And because of the huge number of students who are now remote, there's this also a massive switch to a greater degree of digital materials. That's not just OER, though. The publishers had already started, and through inclusive access and other digital first marketing pieces, to roll out a lot of digital distribution to replace print, and that's just accelerated. And what we're seeing, and actually I've heard from others, was there's an increased willingness to understand and to consider OER, but it's happening in this environment of great change and a lot of other activity going on. So I want to give you a couple of quick looks at some things we're looking at right now. So this is data from a survey we currently have in the field. So these numbers will change when we get to the final numbers. So the survey closes a bit later this week. This is looking at all faculty, and we're asking a number of questions there that relate to these kind of adoption decisions. And so so faculty members were asked, what did they use prior to the pandemic, right before they switched, when they had to make RLA? Were they using digital, combination of digital, print only? Huge majority, 79%, doing a combination of print and digital. Currently, though, that number is, the number that is digital only has gone from 13% to 49%. The number that's print only dropped from 7, a very small number. We're doing only print, but it's down even further to 1%. But perhaps even more important for the long-term understanding of OER adoption is, what is our opinion of this digital material? And when we ask those same faculty members, now that you've been using the digital material, compared to your opinion pre-pandemic, what is your opinion about the value of digital materials for your course? So this is personal for a faculty member. It's not asking them in general, it's asking them for their own course, their own use. And 50% of them said they are more positive about the use of digital materials. 45% said no change. Only 4% were saying that this exercise has produced a more negative view. This is pretty critical, given that one of the greatest barriers that faculty continued to tell us pre-pandemic was that they were concerned about the prevalence of digital among OER materials, that was going to limit their choices, that there was something still magical about print, and moving to an all digital environment was a concern, I guess probably is the best way to say it. So that leads us to say, where do we go next? Tanya.
So we have this opportunity now that we know faculty are more interested or more receptive to digital materials due to the pandemic. This is a moment in time when OER can really make a difference. So we have some questions that are for further research. How would OER initiatives take advantage of the increased awareness and acceptance of digital materials? While it's clear that almost all OER initiatives seem to have an impact, what are the most effective? So we really want to know which components of an OER initiative make the most impact on faculty. And publishers have moved aggressively to inclusive access and first day access distribution models. And we're really interested to see what the OER community and what OER initiatives will do to pivot and respond to those new models. And also, this is an opportunity to really get together and make an impact by working together. So one of the programs that I'm leading right now is called the National Consortium for Open Educational Resources. And there's a wonderful group of people who are from MEC, NEBI, SREB, and WICHE, and you can see their states on the map. We call ourselves National Consortium for Open Educational Resources. It's brand new, and there'll be a press release coming out soon. But what we're interested in doing is finding ways to increase collaboration and reduce duplication of effort. So instead of Regina Gong out trying to do things all by herself without any support and redoing something that someone in Georgia already did, we're finding a way to share all of this information across the states, across the initiatives, to reduce duplication of effort, to increase collaboration within institutions themselves, within systems of institutions, like a whole university system, and also among states. So what's happening in Texas? Well, maybe they could share the same effective research and methods with the state of Maine. You never know where you could collaborate. And also within the compact region. So WICHE is focused on equity in OER. MEC is mostly focused on cost savings and also dual credit. We're all looking at research. The New England region is looking at open informed teaching and learning, like open pedagogy. And so we're going to share all of these resources and all of this information together across the states. So here are some references for further reading. You can all check out what we're doing, look at the research, and we will open this for questions because we only have about 6 minutes left. And you're also welcome to access us by email, and for sure follow us on Twitter so that we can all talk. I'll put my Twitter handle in and some email addresses.
Thank you, Tanya, and thank you, Jeff. Yes, so we have about 5 minutes left, which is perfect timing because we are trying to save 5 minutes for Q&A on all of these 25-minute sessions. So if you do have a question, please go ahead and share it in the chat so that Tanya and Jeff can answer verbally, or Tanya and Jeff, if you'd also like to take questions verbally, then I can help unmute anyone who might be muted and unable to unmute themselves. I do see one question that came in a few minutes ago from Amy Larson. Amy asks, oh, hello. Okay, I will ask Amy's question. Amy asks, what kind of digital materials do faculty want? Amy is constantly asked about homework systems. If you guys have anything to add to that, that would be very helpful.
I can say a little bit about that. One of the things we ask in our annual surveys in the OER for higher ed faculty is, do they use online homework systems? And if so, how important is it? And what we've seen is the use is fairly pervasive and it's growing, that they view it as a critical tool, but I would have to say that it's more as a tool, not as a core teaching element. It's something they view as getting their job done, not necessarily how they teach. That's a broad generalization. That's not so, but take that with a big error bar around that one. But we do see that, we do see a big push on that. The one thing that we saw, I mean, the more interesting part of that is also what kind of digital materials are faculty looking for. And frankly, we don't know. We know that there was, one of the questions we asked in previous reports was, do you believe that your students learn better from print than they do from digital? And we saw very big differences between disciplines in that. And while we've now seen a huge increase in the number of faculty saying that they like digital and they have a better opinion of digital, we have yet to see how much of a difference does that make in that decision about, do they still think that print is fundamentally better or not? And is that true across all disciplines?
Thank you. We have a couple more questions that are coming in, so I want to try to get to as many as we can. Adam asks, well, first Adam says, great talk. Then Adam asks, may I ask for some examples of successful small scale, i.e. college level, not consortial level, OER initiatives?
Put a link in the chat to the Spark Open Educational Leadership Program. And I co-designed that with Nicole Allen, and we have wonderful mentors, and many of them are here in the chat. And the fellows each have to create their own open educational resources initiative, and you can look at the many examples of initiatives led by faculty and librarians right on a campus.
I think it's interesting that one of the things we saw, when we're the research about initiatives that we did, we asked, were you aware of them and where did the initiative come from? Were you aware of a department initiative, an institutional initiative, a system-wide initiative, a state initiative? And the answer, it was every one of those was equally impactful. And so there was not a difference about who was doing the initiative in terms of every one of those was leading to much higher levels of OER awareness and OER adoption, which then says, what's the mechanism by which all of this is operating? And one of the hypotheses is that faculty members are very open to and like OER, but are mostly unaware. And once they get informed about it as an option in a way that removes doubt about, is it any good? Where can I get it? Are other people using it? The awareness goes way up, adoption goes up way up, and even among those who have not yet adopted, those who say they are going to consider in the future goes up by that same 3 to 4 times. So we know there's something happening there at a very fundamental level, and it's pervasive across all types of initiatives.
One thing I'm noticing right now is somebody asks a question, and this is so open community. Everyone's helping. Like, look in the chat, everyone's helping each other. And I think that's so indicative of how people share and how they want to collaborate, that this type of work is just going to exponentially grow over time, where people help each other and create new initiatives and find out what works and share the best results. And I just really encourage everyone to jump in, ask questions, lead something, do something, because everything you're doing is helping and making a difference. And this is a great time to really get out and make a difference, because we know that faculty are open to it. We have this pandemic opportunity to really make a difference and help promote open. So thanks everybody for being here. We're just really proud of you. You've done a great job in the open community. Thank you.
Thank you, Tanya. Jeff, do you want to go ahead and say a couple of things for closing, because we're just
yes. Sorry, I'm going to do this to everybody and send out my email so you all have it. That we're about to do more research in this. This is just the beginning. We really want to understand what's going on here. We have, as you saw, some surveys in the field right now, but a lot more being planned, including another national OER higher ed research endeavor. So, and the world is so different. Anyone who has ideas about what you think we should be looking at now that's changed from what it was before, we'd love to hear your thoughts. Thank you. Are the surveys open and licensed? All the survey reports are released under Creative Commons. Yes, they are. Anyone who wishes copies of any of the instruments, send me an email. And if you're actually using Qualtrics, we'll actually send you the Qualtrics code so you can directly load them and do that. We've done that widely. There's a number of people using these currently.
Okay, thank you, Jeff, and thank you, Tanya. I am sad to have to end the session. It's been great. I am going to stop the recording, but to Tanya's point, the chat should stay open for about 15 minutes after the session ends. in case you want to go back through and share any comments or look at what others were sharing in terms of resources and helpful information. Again, thank you both.